How Sony got trapped. Hey folks, it's Dave Neal, and we have an update in the Justin Baldoni Blake Lively case. This article from The Hollywood Reporter, how Sony got trapped in the middle of the Lively versus Baldoni battle. You know, I thought about what clips of this or what anecdotes could I share. It's good. It's a good article, so I'm just going to sit back and read it to you guys if that's all right with you. The studio had only agreed to market and release the film, but as a battle for control between the two stars intensified, it was reluctantly forced to mediate the morass. The definitive inside story. All right, let's get into it. Days after the release of It Ends With Us last August, Sony Pictures Entertainment CEO Tony Vinciquerra issued a highly unusual statement to The Hollywood Reporter, praising Blake Lively, who at that very moment was being destroyed on social media over reports of a power struggle with her director and co-star Justin Baldoni in the way she promoted the movie. Notably, there was zero mention of Baldoni or his company, Wayfair Studios, which had brought on Sony to market and distribute their adaptation of Colleen Hoover's best-selling novel about a woman caught up in an intertwining tale of new love and domestic abuse. So again, remember when Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds tried to write something for Justin Baldoni to read? I wonder if they wrote the Sony statement. Blake's passion and commitment to advancing the conversation around domestic violence is commendable. We love working with Blake and we want to do 12 more movies with her, said Vinciquerra, who has since retired. He likewise praised Hoover and the other woman involved in the film. What no one knew at the time was that Sony had for months been playing the unintended role of mediator in what has erupted into the biggest uncivil war in recent Hollywood history, pitting one of Hollywood's most powerful couples, Lively is married to Ryan Reynolds, against an ambitious third-party production company, flush with funds. It's easy to surmise that the statement from Vinciquerra came at the request of Lively, who was eager to stop the bleeding of her public image, in virulent online comments and threats against her family and even acquaintances. Additionally, several of her fellow cast members who, like Lively, had refused to stand by Baldoni at the film's premiere or other marketing events were also coming under attack online and being threatened, with at least one reaching out to ask Lively if Sony could help, according to an amended complaint filed on February 17th by the Star, who is suing Baldoni and Wayfair CEO Jamie Heath, among others, in the Southern District of New York for alleged sexual harassment on set, and then launching a smear campaign after the film's release. Vinciquerra's statement is just one of numerous examples all along the way where Sony seemingly attempted to support and appease Lively, even as Baldoni's grip on the movie slowly but surely fell away. Sony, which declined to comment for this story, appeared to have little choice but to make Lively its priority, since she was vital to the film's marketing and release, and Sony was aware of a possible troubled set. It Ends With Us should have been a reason for lasting celebration and a game changer for Wayfair after earning more than $350 million at the worldwide box office against a modest $25 million budget. Instead, it has become the ultimate nightmare for a major Hollywood studio, Sony, which only signed up to co-finance and distribute another company's movie, now finds itself caught up in dueling lawsuits that raise allegations of harassment on set, cyberbullying, extortion, and using one's fame to wield power. So far, Sony hasn't been named a party in any of the lawsuits, but is cited by both sides and faces its executives being subpoenaed if the case goes to trial in March of 2026. It's a mess, says a veteran studio exec. Until now, the mystery of how Lively's cut of the film arrived in theaters has never been detailed, but a review of hundreds of pages of court filings answered, at least in part, how Baldoni's cut ended up on the sidelines in favor of Lively's. He claims wasn't even allowed to see the cut until the world premiere. The angst on set escalated quickly. On May 26 of 2023, just a few weeks into production, Lively called Sony production executive Ange Giannetti to log concerns over unwelcomed and inappropriate behavior by Baldoni and Wayfair CEO Heath on set, according to Lively's amended complaint. She cited several examples of feeling sexually harassed or uncomfortable. Giannetti explained that any formal HR complaints must be lodged with Wayfair, as it was the production company and Sony was only the distributor. Lively said she was concerned that Wayfair would not take proper action, since it is run by two men involved. Sources close to the matter say Lively did log several calls with Giannetti, but counter the nature of the May 26 call, saying it involved Lively asking to file a complaint about onset COVID protocols. Giannetti is said to have taken the matter seriously and relayed Lively's concerns to Wayfair. She did the same when she learned from other third parties of an incident involving another actress, prompting Baldoni to write an email to the actress on June 1st, 2023, saying he was aware of her concerns and that adjustments would be made, according to Lively's suit. While Lively's amended complaint does not name the actress, it says two actresses aside from Lively who flagged concerns have agreed to testify should her case go to trial. As for Lively, she declined to file a formal HR complaint with Wayfair and instead, in November of 2023, drafted a list of 17 demands that Baldoni and Heath had to sign if she would have returned to work, following a months-long shutdown due to the dual writers and actors strike. Sony's legal team advised Wayfair in an email to sign the list of 17 demands, but reminded that overall the tone of the response has to be part denying the underlying insinuations, allegations, but doing so in a way that doesn't inflame or escalate further, since most of what's on this list Wayfair is acknowledging and addressing, according to a lawsuit filed by Baldoni December 31st, 2024, in Los Angeles Superior Court. So there you have it. I mean, Sony's really just working with both sides. They're placating Blake Lively, make her feel good so she'll promote the movie. And on Wayfair's side, they're like, yeah, don't admit to any of this. The demands included there is to be no spontaneous improvising of any scenes involving physical touching, simulated sex, or nudity with respect to the artist. Physical touching and or comments on artist's physical appearance must only be made in connection with the character and scene work, not as to artist personally, and there are to be no discussions with artist or personal experiences with sex or nudity, including as it relates to conduct with spouses or others, according to Lively's amended complaint. The demands also included Sony agreed to send Giannetti to the set and to hiring an A-list veteran producer to aid Lively and represent the studio. Todd Black was later hired. In their lawsuit, Heath and Baldoni said they signed the demands in under duress in order to save the movie. They further assert that many of the demands were based on comments or situations taken entirely out of context. Following Wayfair's agreeing to the list of 17 demands, Giannetti texted Lively on November 29th, 2023 to say, "So glad Todd Black is in it now and overseeing everything, but wanted to check in for anything I can. I know this has been beyond challenging to say the least." A month later, both Sony and Wayfair were caught off guard at a January 4th, 2024 meeting at Lively and Reynolds' Tribeca loft, when she raised a total of 30 concerns. Lively, however, only required that the original list of 17 items be signed, according to the suit. When the shoot resumed in January for about 6 more weeks, there were no more incidents, according to Lively. But another saga was about to unfold. According to a Baldoni's amended complaint, Black informed the filmmaker in late February that Lively wanted time in the editing room with him for 2 days, a highly unusual request because of DGA rules that allow a director unencumbered time to deliver their cut. A source close to the matter on Lively's side says there had been so many script changes, Lively was concerned about selling a movie she hadn't seen, particularly considering the subject matter. She also had sign-off rights on a sex scene involving the younger version of her character, Lily, played by Isabella Ferrer. Baldoni went along with the ask out of concern she would use a 17-point document against him, and because of pressure from Sony, according to Baldoni's amended complaint. Wayfair connected with a Sony exec to discuss the unusual situation, with the Sony exec concluding, "We are in it with you. At the end of this, pain is a big win." Lively ultimately joined Baldoni in the editing bay on March 12th, 2024, with 7 pages of script notes, which he and his editor incorporated, but she did not show up the second day. Then in April 2024, Sony, ever in the role of mediator, informed Wayfair that Lively wanted solo time in the room with her own editor, saying she once again raised the specter that she wouldn't promote the film, according to Baldoni's complaint. She ultimately commissioned editor Shane Reed, who worked on Reynolds' Deadpool and Wolverine. Again, Wayfair relented. From April 22nd through May 1st, Lively worked on her cut while Baldoni proceeded with his, according to Baldoni's court documents. The story of the edit of the film is not relevant to Miss Lively's claims of sexual harassment and retaliation. It is a red herring designed to distract the public away from the grave misconduct by the defendants, states Lively's amended claims. The Sony cut is the film that was chosen to be released in theaters. Miss Lively led the Sony cut with their support, working in close collaboration with Sony and Colleen Hoover. She backs this up with several emails from Sony executives praising her work on the trailer and film. While Lively calls it the Sony cut, Baldoni and Wayfair contend otherwise. In a timeline attached to their amended complaint, they state that, in reality, Sony did not have a studio cut. Rather, Wayfair and Sony shared a studio cut. Should the director's cut not perform well in audience screenings, the studios collectively held the right to recut the film. However, this never occurred, as Lively used her promotional efforts to secure the final cut. Creative control again became an issue in late April 2024 when Heath was outraged upon learning that Lively requested to bring creative collaborators into the editing room in addition to her own editor. According to Baldoni's amended complaint, a Sony executive said it would be made clear that Lively would also need Wayfair's approval for any such involvement. Wayfair has final cut and runs the process. Sony is an investor and the distributor, the Sony executive told Heath. The amended complaint further states that when Heath noted that Sony appeared to bend over backwards to accommodate Lively, the executive acknowledged the imbalance and admitted that this was not a situation anyone foresaw. But in this instance, Sony held firm. Wayfair was told that someone higher up on the food chain spoke with Lively. She dropped the demand regarding additional collaborators. Sony soon, though, had to manage another problem. As detailed in Baldoni's amended complaint, a Sony marketing executive told Wayfair that Lively was refusing to sign off on a trailer unless Wayfair, whom she was not speaking with, would exempt her from signing long overdue paperwork that would have rendered her threats to not promote the movie meaningless, according to Baldoni's court filings. Sony was particularly concerned that Lively would change her mind about reaching out to best friend Taylor Swift to secure the release of My Tears Ricochet for the trailer. When Heath refused to acquiesce, the clearly frustrated Sony marketing execs delivered a sharp and pointed message. You don't want to play ball. You're going to delay and greatly hurt the movie. Good luck. Finish director cut and we can have multiple previews down the road. Wayfair acquiesced according to the court filings. But the idea of releasing the cut that tested best, Baldoni's or Lively's, became moot. By June, the coup was complete. Sony called Wayfair to say that neither Lively nor any of the cast would promote the film unless Lively's cut was used, according to Baldoni's amended complaint. Baldoni was forced to choose between killing the film or firing himself as director and allowing Lively to finish his film. He concluded it was his only choice according to his court filings. And when her cut of the film screened at the book convention Book Bonanza in June of 2023 before more than 3,500 people, the ecstatic response lit up social media. A Sony executive wrote Lively that he hadn't seen that sort of response since working on a hit Marvel film years earlier, a source close to the matter says. Even then, Sony wasn't done playing mediator. Tensions stayed inflamed regarding other demands throughout the summer over a number of issues, including when Lively asked Sony to have Wayfair submit letters to the PGA explaining all the work she had done. She was at that time listed as an executive producer. Lively instructed Sony to tell Wayfair and Baldoni that any goodwill left between us is done if the letters weren't sent, according to one of the Wayfair's filings. Heath and Baldoni did so, but also sent a letter to their Wayfair lawyers saying they were signing under duress. Sony also had to deliver the news that Lively was asking that his film by credit be removed from a secondary poster for the film. His name had already been scrubbed from appearing alongside her in other marketing materials. In this case, Sony said he would have to sign a waiver stating he was foregoing his right for a film by credit on the poster, which he did. Lively's cut, with Baldoni's listed as the director, was released in theaters and became an outsized success for a troubled film that cost only $25 million to make, opening to north of $50 million and in second place behind her husband's film Deadpool and Wolverine, marking the first time since 1990 that two movies starring a married couple topped the box office. Blake, $5 million, your blood, sweat, tears, brilliant, smarts, heart and soul in every single frame. My God, it's incredible. Thank you 50M times, and it's only Saturday night, emailed Sony's Giannetti over opening weekend. No one, and not even Baldoni, will say officially how much of his cut was put back into Lively's cut. Baldoni's editors told him they heard a substantial part had, or at least those parts that tested so well with target audiences. Yet within only few short days, the stunning success of It Ends With Us was overshadowed by headlines as details emerged about the Lively-Baldoni feud. This was followed by the legal battle sparked over Christmas when Lively sued Baldoni and then Wayfair sued saying she'd stolen the movie away from Baldoni. Justin Baldoni was perfectly fine with taking credit for Blake Lively's editing work until he feared she was making her sexual harassment concerns more public, a Lively spokesperson said when the February 17th amended complaint was filed. Baldoni, Heath, Sarowitz, and Wayfarer had no complaints about lining their own pockets with the success of the film at the box office. They had no shame in reveling in a movie that now, according to them, they did not control post-production. The public did not even know that Miss Lively is the one who worked so hard to edit the movie. The Hollywood Reporter asked veteran studio experts whether, in hindsight, it was worth it for Sony to get caught up in such a morass. They are hard-pressed to answer in the affirmative, especially if mounting lawsuits result in a March 2026 trial that could open up the studio execs to being called to the stand. And it will go down in infamy how Sony, in what it thought would be its last act of playing broker, told Baldoni that Team Lively wouldn't allow him at the premiere. A settlement was negotiated and he walked the carpet before Lively arrived. It was hardly a fun message for Sony to relay. In another twist of irony, or not, Friday of the movie's opening, Baldoni was asked by a journalist if he would consider directing the book adaptation of Hoover's sequel, It Starts With Us. He suggested that Lively might be best suited for the job. And there it is, folks. What a doozy. I mean, it's a good article, right? But you just get to see how Sony is just like the middleman, you know? They're just trying to get this thing made. They don't care about Blake. They don't care about Wayfair. And you can see how exhausted it was for them in the middle. But hey, that's why they get paid the big bucks, right? Okay, there's your update there. Sony says not worth it, but hey, they were stuck in it, and that's another part of the story. We'll be back with more content right after this.